Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is the next in my hashtag doing a Linda interview, and I will be interviewing Glenda, who is the Creative Grandma. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be welcoming everybody in. And then I'm going to bring up Glenda and we're going to get stuck in, and hopefully it's going to be about an hour long, and hopefully Glenda will answer any of your questions at the end after I've asked all my questions. So welcome if you're here for the replay. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it. And welcome in Roberta, Amy, Maribel, Jeanette, Sonia. Welcome in, guys. And I am going to bring up our lovely Glenda. So, add to street. Welcome in, Glenda. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I am good. Hello, Linda. Hello, everyone who's here at the chat.
Hello, Angela, Sally, Joanne. Yes, hello again. So welcome in, everybody. As you know, with all my interviews, I concentrate mainly on my interviewee, my guest. And so please don't take offense if I don't greet you and welcome you in individually. But thank you also very much for being here. And I hope you enjoy today's interview. I'm doing a little bit of fangirling, guys. So welcome in. So shall we get started, Glenda? Are you ready to get started?
I think so.
Okay. So before I ask the questions, really, I wonder if you can tell us how and when your journey started in the fiber community.
Oh, my goodness. That started a long, long time ago. I was married. I had small children. I was trying to figure out how to make an income from home because it costs so much for a babysitter. So I started entering crochet contests in magazines. And then I just kept sending stuff in, got my own column, started doing Afghan artistry, and just proceeded from there, started working for Coats and Clark's, Red Heart Yarns, and had a great relationship with them. Started working with Crochet Fantasy magazine, which is now no longer in business, but had a great relationship with them. And the journey just kept going and going, meeting new people. And it is true when they say it's all in who you know. And then I was invited to Crochet Fantasy, and they taught me how to edit my own magazine. So that was fun. And the one thing I'll always remember them telling me is that just assume they know nothing and just make sure you cover every aspect of when you're putting a pattern together and writing those patterns. But that's kind of how it started with the crochet contest. It got me in there and they liked what I made. And then it just... Now I'm
from there.
Yep, it just grew from there. And then when my mom started getting sick, then again, I had to quit my job. And my grandson got me started on YouTube, which I wish I would have known about it a long time ago. And I think that was about 5 or 6 years ago. I've been on here for several years. And it just turned into a great way to be able to make money from home and take care of my mom, who is now going to be 90 this year.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. That's quite interesting. And I didn't realize that. So it was nice. I found something new as well. So thank you for that. We'll move on to the first question. So when you first started your journey in the fiber community, have you seen a change with regard to people's perception of yarn in general?
I'm not sure about others people's perception, but my perception is when I first got started in the industry, it was yarn. You went to the store, you bought your yarn. Now it's turning in. It's just my opinion, and just everyone, please remember.
Yeah, we all have our own opinion. Don't worry about that.
I feel like it's getting gimmicky. Like there's always a new gimmick. It's like, just give us the yarn. I don't want, there's the new the anti-pilling yarn is nice. I do like that feature. I don't feel that's gimmicky. I do like that.
Yeah.
But now the macrophobia, I can't even say it, that brand new yarn they come out with. I'm not sure why anybody would buy that type of yarn. You know, it prevents bacteria and things like that. I just feel like the companies are always looking for a new gimmick of selling the same old product. It's yarn.
Yeah.
Give us our solid covers, give us our stripes, give us our variegated. That's all I want. But it does to me feel more gimmicky from when I first got in the industry.
Yeah, and I feel they should, for me personally, I think that the yarn companies are getting away with just putting numbers instead of colours. Do you know?
Yeah, I've noticed that, and I don't like that because
no, I don't like that at all. I go mad.
Yeah, because if you're doing a project and you say, you know, you need these colors, then I either have to go on the website and hope there's a color name on the website. So most of the time there is a color name, but not on the label. And then, you know, time is essence.
It's precious. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I have to spend all that time, I like to see the color name on the label. So I do agree with you with that.
Yeah, I think it's just laziness on their part. When if they can put it on the website what color it is, why can't they put it on the ball band?
I know, and
it's not rocket science at the end of the day. If they're going to put a number, why not put a color?
I also noticed they're making the print smaller. Maybe it's my age, but I have my readers, and when I put these readers on and I'm looking and I still can't read the information, like it's so small I can't tell what hook size they're recommending. And because of my experience, I usually know what hook size goes with which yarn, but it just gets really frustrating when you're like looking through these binoculars and you still can't read the information on the labels. Let's print it a little bit bigger. But yeah, that's
and it's hard for the newer, you know, for the newbies, if they're just starting and they're looking at the bands and they can't decipher whether it's a 2 or a 3, or you know, it is.
And that's the other thing. I mean, there is standards, but a lot of times you can buy a yarn and it's not the correct weight. Some companies put whatever weight I think they think it is on there, and it can be different. You know, and it's hard when you're ordering online because you're not seeing the yarn. If you're in the store, you can see it. But here in the United States, I've noticed, I live in a very small rural area and I only have a couple big box stores. So when I go to the stores, it seems like they're all reducing their yarns. It's like the yarn sections are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh, the scrapbooking has the whole store, but the yarn has like 2 aisles. It's like they're forgetting about fiber artists out there. They're forgetting about the people, you know, and I know the yarn companies are struggling as well because they're pulling the yarns out of the store. And these yarn companies, if they didn't have online sales, I think some of these companies would be going out of business.
I know. And it's not, I can't, obviously I live in the UK and we haven't got the big box stores that you have for the yarn. But I've noticed a few YouTubers have done videos of how Hobby Lobby's yarn aisles have gone, you know, from however many to, you know, have decreased. A lot of them, Joann's, Michael's, they're all decreasing their yarns, which is a surprise really, because since lockdown, I think the yarny fiber community has exploded.
You would think it would. You would think.
You know, so more people are wanting to buy it. So to do something like that is such a shame.
Yeah. They said Hobby Lobby is going to more home decor because that's what sells. But I just wish the big box stores, at least here in the United States, I'm not sure how it is in the UK, I just wish they would not forget us. You know, it's like scrapbooking and stuff like that. You walk in, half the store in Michael's is scrapbooking and the yarn is shoved back in the back corner in a couple aisles.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it really
Never
is.
mind. We'll see what happens. So the next question I've got for you is, what is your favorite project to make, and what stitch or stitches are your go-to for any project that you make?
My favorite projects are Afghans. That is what I've made most of my career. That's what got me started in the magazine field, was my Afghan artistry, where I would do the Tunisian Afghans with cross stitching on them. And I had a lot of fun with that. The only drawback with that in a YouTube channel is trying to do a video and showing somebody how to make a Tunisian cross stitch blanket. If there's so much cross stitching on it, you can't show them every stitch.
No.
So I have some beautiful designs, but it's just, how do you film something like that? I
Yeah.
can show them, how to get started cross stitching, but if they don't want to buy the pattern, it's hard to do a video because there's so much cross stitching. It would take weeks. I mean, some of my blankets can take me up to 8 weeks to make. So that's the only drawback that I don't like, that I don't know how to kind of incorporate that into some of the more heirloom style Afghans. But I love Afghans. That is just something that I always love to make. And I usually, like I said, do the Tunisian stitch. I like to use basic single crochet, double crochet stitch patterns. I don't know why I don't use the half double crochet a lot. I just don't use it a lot.
That's my favorite stitch.
Yeah, and these are USA crochet terms I'm talking about. I know they're a little
no,
different.
I was taught US terms, so I prefer the US terms. The English terminology confuses the heck out of me. So no, I do follow and if it's an English pattern, I automatically say it right. For the single crochet US, it's like a double. And so I know when it's DC, I know it's an SC for me, US.
Yeah. I also like to make toilet paper toppers, and I know that's a strange thing to like to make, but I made the snowman, the Santa Claus, I made a rabbit, and I got to get another one made. I haven't made one in a while, but I enjoy having something crocheted in the bathroom, and they just sit on top of your toilet tank and just dress up for the holidays. You walk in and it's just fun.
Do you do one for Halloween as well? You could do an Easter bunny.
I did a pumpkin for Halloween. So I have the pumpkin, Rose the bunny, the Santa Claus, and the snowman. I think that's the only 4 I did so far. But
you could even do one for Valentine. Do a heart one. That would be a good one.
I have a leaflet out. I don't know if it's in publication anymore. It's been a long time ago, but I did a leaflet for Leisure Arts. I think it was either Leisure Arts or Annie's Attic. I work for both of them, but it was a collection of toilet paper toppers, and they had like designs coming down with flowers. They were floral ones. So I might try to make another one of those.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining Glenda and I today. Thank you for being here. My next question for you, Glenda, is what are your 5 favorite notions you have and can't do without?
I'm a very basic designer. I use my crochet hooks. I use scissors, yarn needle, tape measure, and let me look at my notes. A tote bag or a little storage container to store my projects. And that's how I work. I don't use a lot of fancy notions, and I don't usually use stitch markers either. I use a piece of yarn because it's just easier. I clip a piece of yarn, stick it where I need it to be to know where my stitches are. But very basic. I don't use yarn bowls. Basically, I think they're too small because I'm always using the bigger skeins of yarn. But yeah, I don't use a lot of fancy stuff. I just use my hooks, my scissors, my tape measure, and yarn needles to weave in my ends, and just the basics is all you really need.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, kind of from when I first joined the fibre community to now, the different notions that there are out there is just blows my mind. I mean, I must admit I'm a knitter as well, and I do definitely use my stitch markers for marking how many rows I've done and whatever. But yeah, from when I first started to now, the notions has just blossomed, really.
Yeah, I'm a very basic designer. I just use basic tools. That's how my gram taught me way back in the day. And I still use a double knot instead of a slip knot. And, she taught me, she said, tie a knot, then tie another knot. And I kind of do that because I just, I love my gram, and I never in a million years thought this would be my career when I was 11 years old trying to learn how to make a chain. And I learned how to make a chain. And then the only thing I ever did was just keep making that chain and balling it up into this big giant ball. And I was so proud of myself, oh, wow, look at what I can do. And then I did learn how to do the single crochet. And I think the Tunisian crochet was the second stitch I learned. And I thought it was so easy because it was kind of like in between crocheting and knitting. Put all your stitches on, take all your stitches off. And and if you want to change colors, it was so easy to match your colors up with your stitches. So and then it just took off.
Excellent. And sometimes the simple things in life are the better things, aren't they? Sometimes, especially with when you're working with your crochet and your blanket, or whatever you are making, it's the simple, easy notions which works out the best in the end.
And what's fun is some of these new yarns, some of these printed yarns, you can do a simple single crochet and still have a blanket that looks amazing just because of the yarn. And I think some people, when they first get started, they have to remember, use some of those fancy yarns with those fancy color changes, and you can really make some pretty stuff with a simple stitch.
Yeah, definitely. Instead of trying to learn all these highfalutin stitches, just a single crochet, double crochet, or a half double crochet with fancy yarn makes a stunning blanket or lovely, or if a baby blanket, even if you use blues and whites or pinks and whites, and that makes lovely blankets. Definitely. So my next question is, what are your goals for this year, if you have any? Do you have any goals?
I do. I've been wanting to put an ebook together, and I started it, and then I didn't know what I was doing, and then I kind of give up on it because I think Amazon has a program where you can put your information together and do an ebook. And I have been struggling with that. So now I'm at the point where I might just pay somebody else, give them the information, say, here, put this into an ebook for me. And that's my goal. I mean, I have been published in magazines with articles, and I do encourage anybody watching this video that if you do know how to create your own designs, don't be afraid to send those design submissions in. And usually when you go on the crochet magazine website, they have design submission, and you can just get a copy of what they require. Just click that, have them email you your guidelines for submitting your patterns. And that's how I got started. I mean, we all have to start out somewhere. We're all new at one point. And you would be amazed if you're good at what you do and you love what you do, it just automatically comes. So I really do encourage everyone, check out those magazines. Look, usually they all say to submit a design, they give you the information. You just request the guidelines, and they'll tell you step by step what they want and how to, submit those designs. And
how the layout they want and everything. Yeah, that's a good. That's very good. There's quite a few designers actually in the chat who do tutorials and design shawls and mandalas. Ursula, are you listening? And that I think would
well, not only magazines, but publications too. If they're familiar with Annie's publications, Annie's Attic, it used to be, and Leisure Arts. Leisure Arts is very big here in the United States. And usually when you submit to a leaflet, they like a collection. So if you do Afghans, you would want to have 5 or 6 Afghans, or like my toilet paper toppers, maybe 6, my dress toppers, maybe 6 or 8 designs.
Yeah.
So for a leaflet publication, don't be afraid. Just make a collection of something. I did the baby blankets, and just make about 6 of them. I think I submitted 8. They chose 6 because usually they have how many pages they want to put in the leaflet. So your designs may be wonderful, but they might not have room for all of them, but it gives them a chance to pick the ones they think would be best. So
Yeah.
magazines and leaflets, go for it. I mean, like I said, I started out, I never was published, and then one day somebody accepts it, and then you get accepted again, and then it just takes off from there. So please, everyone, I really encourage you to try to do that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are within our community, there are quite a few designers who I think, should,
Now the
should
one
do.
Yeah, now the one reason I backed off from magazine publications is because as a designer, I want to have the freedom to design what I want in the colors I want. Now, certain yarn companies, I will work with them and use the colors they want, even though I don't want to use those colors. And that's the one instance with my Flowers in the Sand Mandela Afghan. They wanted me to use certain colors, and I just did not want to use those colors. And it was very challenging for me to put that Mandela style Afghan together because I don't like to use a lot of browns. I like bright colors, and I had to make,
Joyful colors.
yeah. And I quit designing for magazines because I don't like people to change the way I make something. I
Yeah.
make it the way I like it because that's my creativity.
Yes.
So I kind of like backed off and just thought, well, I'm going to make my stuff, and if people like it, they can just buy the pattern, and it gives me more freedom. But I still think it's a great way for anyone looking to get into designing to don't be afraid, don't be intimidated. I mean, just send them in. But I do want to say one thing. If you are interested, please make sure you know how to write instructions. If you're not sure, look in the magazines. The one big thing is when you're submitting to a certain magazine, buy that magazine or go to the library, get a copy of that magazine, and look at the style of how they put that article and that pattern together. Learn their technique of how they put those patterns together, their terminology, which usually, I think it's the Crochet Guild of America. I don't use them anymore, but they do have information on there that can help you with the terminology, the standards that they use in the industry.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
And for all you designers in the chat, think about doing that. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, guys. There really isn't. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is, what is your greatest achievement so far? What do you feel is your greatest achievement so far within the community?
Still being in the industry after all this time. Being published, I think, is one of my greatest achievements. At first, it was being published for the first time, and then it was getting my column, and then it was being published in leaflets, and now it's just being able to make a living with what I love to do. And that's the best thing in the world, is doing something you love, waking up and just be able to do what you love.
Yeah. So that makes it worthwhile, just getting out of bed and thinking, yeah, I'm going to be doing this today. I'm playing with my yarn. I'm going to create this, or I'm going to create that, or finish this project. So I always think, do what makes you happy at the end of the day. If it makes you happy, then that's half the battle, really, isn't it?
Well, I never thought I'd be at this point, though. I mean, most people, you have to work and have a job to pay your bills.
Yes.
So it just, I think I try to believe that the fate intercepted because of all the problems I was facing with my family, because my family always come first to me. I don't
Yeah.
care if I had $100,000 job. If my mom was sick, I would I quit my jobs and I went and I took care of my mother. That's kind of how I was raised. Family first. You
Yeah.
take care of your family. And it just seems like somebody was looking out for me, guiding me in the direction. And I just can't say it enough to encourage everybody. I mean, you might not get to where you want to be right away, but if it's something you love and you are good at it, you are going to get to where you want to be. It just takes time. And even when my grandson Cody got me started on YouTube, I never thought, it would take off and I could make a living. I was hoping to make some extra money.
Yeah.
And now it just serves two purposes. I can work from home and I can take care of my mom. So,
Yeah.
just can't emphasize enough to encourage everyone out there. You can do it. You really can do it. But you have to put forth the effort. You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, I wish I could." You have to go for those guidelines for those magazines. Submit. I mean, I wasn't accepted every time. I got declined a lot of times, and it really doesn't have anything to do with what you're making. It might have to do that you hit the wrong deadline. Maybe you made a beautiful pumpkin for Halloween, but you missed that deadline because a lot of magazines work 6 to 8 months in advance. So you might be thinking, oh, I'm sending this in plenty of time, but you missed the deadline. So, you have to keep all those things into consideration.
Yeah.
When you're trying to break into the industry, you got to think months ahead, and it may not have anything to do with your design. And a lot of times I got declined one place, but I submitted it elsewhere after I got declined. I submitted it somewhere else and they accepted it. So you just have to learn all the different magazines, their guidelines, and if you get declined, send it somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. Good advice. And the last question I've got for you today is, what's your top tip for beginners?
Take it slow. I think the biggest problem beginners have is they want to crochet so bad and they try to do a pattern that they're not ready for. And then they get frustrated. And if they're like me, sometimes even after all these years of crocheting, there's some things that sometimes it just doesn't come out, and then throw it in the corner and then you get frustrated. So my best advice to any beginner is to always start with the beginner patterns so you're not frustrated. And you'll find that when you start crocheting, you're going to just naturally pick it up. Start with a single crochet. Believe me, you don't want to jump to the half double crochet and double crochet before you even know how to do a single crochet. Start with a single crochet. Use stitch markers. You will not believe how many emails I get where people are having trouble with the beginning and the endings of their rows or their projects. And it's usually because the way they start or finish a row. And a lot of times, if you use stitch markers and you put them in the right place, when you come back across, when you work your last stitch and you put a stitch marker in that last stitch, you turn your work, it's going to show you that is your first stitch for the next row. And then when you put a stitch marker in the first stitch, when you start your row, when you come back across, it's going to show you where you put your last stitch of the next row. So very important for new crocheters. Don't be afraid to use those stitch markers. Now, I don't use stitch markers anymore, but I mean, sometimes I have to, depending on the project, but I usually don't use stitch markers anymore. But when you're first crocheting, very, very important. And like I said, start with a single crochet. Don't try to do fancy stitches until you know the basics. And that's once you know the basics, you can do just about anything, because most fancy stitch patterns are the basic 3 stitches. It's usually a single crochet, half double crochet, or a double crochet. I mean, you can get up to the triple, which is easy as well to do, but you just have to start with the 3 basic stitches and work yourself up. And they'll learn it. They just have to know what skill level they're in and not try to do patterns that's beyond their ability. until they learn the basics.
Yeah, and be patient with themselves. Don't don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. At the end, when we all begin to start something new, we all make mistakes, and that's the process of learning. You learn by your mistakes.
And
So
sometimes you can hide your mistakes.
yes, and sometimes you can, or it's a creative design. It's a design that's meant to be there.
Because I sometimes, when I'm working on a pattern, I might miss a stitch because, for some reason you might be watching a good movie. And then when I come back across, I think, oh my goodness, I'm a stitch short. I'll just throw another stitch in there somewhere. So they learn as they go how to do those simple things in order to correct the mistake. So they don't really have to rip something out. But I did see someone leave a comment about counting stitches. And that is a good idea if you're new, to count your stitches if you're not sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're all my questions answered. So thank you very much. So I'm going to throw it open to the chat. Does any of you in the chat have any questions for our Glenda? I'm sure you do.
I'm going to have to put my glasses on.
And Susanna said that is great advice to just start out slow. Yeah, do your chain, practice your chain, then go to the single, then the double, then the half double, and kind of it. They always say practice makes perfect.
It does.
So, we shall. Yes, definitely. It does take time to practice and to even see the stitches. Yes, and learning to read what you're doing as well, learning to read not only the pattern that you're following, but learning to read your actual work takes time. And Ursula says she loves your yarn wall, which is gorgeous.
That's how I design. And that's another thing. If you have your yarn in totes, I know some people don't have room for a yarn wall, but sometimes when I get designer block, it's kind of like a writer when they're trying to write a story. After you make so much stuff for so many years, it's hard. It's hard to think. So when I walk in my room and I look at all this yarn, it helps me to try to get creative. And I think a lot of times too, if you're struggling with designer block, go to a yarn store if you have one, buy, and just walk through the aisles. And I do that sometimes when I have time to get there, to just walk and look. And I've always designed differently, because sometimes the editors say, well, send us a sketch, send us a drawing, tell us what you want to use. I thought, well, I don't know. I go to the store, the yarn tells me, and yeah. I always design backwards. I see the yarn, and then the yarn says, okay, I want to be this. I know that sounds weird, but
I'm exactly the same with my yarn as well. I'll go to a show or whatever and see all the yarn, and I look at it and I think, oh, I like you. What are you going to be?
Yeah.
And then you're going to be that. Yeah, it tells me. So we've got Bree says using the proper hook size for the yarn. Exactly. And Tank, I love to crochet, says Glenda, a friend and I have decided to do your flowers in the sand together. She is a newbie to crochet, and I've crocheted over 50 years. Woo, lovely.
Is she a new crocheter and she's going to try the flowers in the sand blanket?
Yeah.
Do they live close by? I hope. It's a little now that blanket is a little challenging. So if she has someone that has 50 years of experience, that person's going to help her.
Yeah, Tank is going to help her friend. And the crazy poppy lady said, do you have a go-to pattern that you like to make over and over?
I know this is going to sound weird, but I do not make anything twice. I might make a dishcloth twice, but I am one of those people that I cannot stand to make something twice. I don't know why. I don't like to make anything twice.
No, I don't either. And Reggie J. Hook Crochet says, but on the other hand, looking at all my yarn makes me want to start 1,000 projects at once. There is that as well, Reggie. I totally agree. Yes.
I have projects everywhere. I start them, and this is awful because I was just sitting here today thinking I started a cardigan out of Lion brand um, wool ease, and I thought, where did I put that? I started it, and I must have, when I was moving down to my second floor studio, I must have shoved it in a tote. I started a blanket with another new yarn that come out, and I shoved that in a tote. And I'm like that. I'll see a yarn, and then I think, okay, I'm tired of working on that, and then I forget about it. So I'm gonna have to go pull all these totes out so I know exactly what she's saying. It's so easy to get sidetracked with all the beautiful yarns.
Yeah, and Ursula says, often when I get questions about a past tutorial, I have difficulty remembering what I've done. Sometimes I have to watch my own tutorial.
Yeah, you can.
Does that happen to you, Glenda?
Oh my goodness. All the time. I'll get questions, and it's like, well, I made that 5 years ago. I don't. Yeah, I always have to pull up the pattern, and then I have to look at the pattern, and then I have to go watch the video to try to figure out what they're talking about, where they're having the problem. I think that's a common thing with anyone who designs. You're not going to, I mean, as much as I design, I'm not going to remember every stitch of every project over the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I do have to do the same thing.
Yeah. And Tank says no, she lives 12 hours away, the lady who's doing the blanket with her, the flower in the sands blanket. And Reggie says, yes, never make anything twice. And Ola Joe, our lovely Andrea, says, Glenda, you are an amazing designer and content creator. Thank you for all that you do in the yarn community. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Cindy, who's Lulu Treasure, says, that's not strange at all, Glenda. I do not like making things more than once either. Haha, unless it's a hot pad, washcloth, or something small. I totally agree. I don't make anything twice unless I really have to. If I make something twice, I never make it the same color. No, me neither.
Yeah, I want neither. And I feel bad because I have a lot of people who say, Glenda, can I pay you? Will you make that for me? No.
No,
I mean, some of my Afghans take 8 weeks. If I would start selling my designs, I would never get any new patterns made. And I feel bad, but it's just not something I want to do.
No, I'll do a baby blanket. If people ask me to do a baby blanket, then yes, I'll do a baby blanket and booties and a little bonnet and that. But that's about all I will do, because I feel it would take the enjoyment out of what I love to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And Tank said, I've made the Pure Innocent shawl about 30 times, but it has morphed into a beautiful lace creation. And Poppy says, snap, I hate to make things twice. The poppies, well, that's different. That's the crazy repeat. Cindy says, Ola Joe, yes, I agree so much. Matter of fact, I found Glenda before finding a lot of others here in our young community. Just love our sweet Glenda. She's truly amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Very common. Yes, I have to rewatch and reread. Yes. Well, for a designer, it's not like you remember your designs by heart, especially if you have many. Exactly, Reggie. Yeah. Hello, Sarah Moo. Welcome in. Sorry I'm late. Car had to go to garage and we needed to eat. I'll watch the replay. Well, thank you so much, Sarah Moo. I hope you enjoy it. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch me interviewing our lovely Glenda. I understand. Yes, no worries, Glenda. I understand completely. If I make repeats, they are in a different color. I usually want to move on to another project. Yes, very much so. There's so many projects out there, guys, that are on our to-do lists that if we did the same one over and over and over again, I think we would get really very, very bored very quickly. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I thought about making the flowers in the sand and the colors I actually wanted to use. I wanted to use like yellows and blues for that because I think it would be gorgeous in those colors. I was really surprised at how many people like those browns though, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be about the only pattern I'd remake, but I would use different colors. I would remake that again.
Yeah. I like autumnal colors. I mean, I like, my favorite color combination is blue and brown. My favorite color is purples, any shade of purples. But I do love the autumnal colors. I really do. You know, like the browns and the teal, not teal, brown and orange and rust and all them
Well, the
color
background
families.
screen you have, what I'm looking at, I see a blanket behind our
Yes,
little
yes,
closet.
yes. That's
Those are the colors I like. Those bright, I like to design with colors that stand out that really think, ooh, I like that.
yeah. With the neutrals in between,
Yeah,
interspersed as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and Teresa, who's yarn again, says, I only make hats more than one time. Other than that, no matter the craft, it is one of a kind. Yes, definitely. So definitely. Um, let's see if there's any. I remember Glenda before YT. Pleasure to meet you, says Teresa. And Claptrap, hello, welcome in, Claptrap. I tend to make slightly challenging projects that stretch me. I'm old. I don't get so often frustrated anymore. Although after 9 p.m., I'm frogging the same garment 12 times. I did feel like giving up. And it happens to the best of us, say Claptrap. Loved it. Thank you for the chat and ask session. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. I don't mind repeating a project, but it has to be in different colours. Oh, yes, definitely. Yana says, I designed a poncho based on Glenda's stitch tutorials. I'm so thankful for all the tutorials on various stitches that you have on your channel. They are inspirational. Thank you. Thank you for all your lovely comments, guys. And Tank, our lovely Tank, says, I never get bored. I always change it. We are putting magenta and blue and greens in your blanket, Glenda. Oh, that'll look nice. Don't forget to share,
Send
Tank,
me
when
a
it's done.
picture.
Yeah, send a picture.
I always put my email address in my videos underneath the videos. Send me a picture when you get it done. I'd love to see it.
Definitely. When you do a video of flipping through a magazine, do you need to get the magazine's approval, says Reggie?
I don't believe so because you're doing a magazine review. Like I never show the pattern. I mean, there's all kinds of specifications on doing that. Now, I see people doing videos where they're actually opening it and showing instructions. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give any of that information away. Now sometimes I will do a quick shot of showing them there's diagrams, and because a lot of people who don't know how to read instructions, they'll see diagrams, and sometimes like a little photo shoot, I'll show a quick thing of that, but I only do it once for one pattern, but I don't show the instructions. You should never show the instructions. But if you're doing an actual book review or a magazine review, then you can show the photographs, you can tell your opinion, and you can do a review, but don't ever show the instructions. That is copyright infringement.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So has anybody else got any questions? That was a great question, that Reggie. Thank you so much for that. And I bet that's helped a lot of people who do magazine and book reviews. So thank you for that. I do a book review. I just give a glance at the images. Yes. When I in the past, when I've done magazine reviews, I've only ever shown the picture.
Yeah.
You know, the picture of the design and that, you know, not the actual instructions of how to make that garment per se. I've enjoyed being here. Oh, thank you, Angela. Thank you for being here. Oh, you're more than
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm just saying you're more than welcome. So have you got anything else you would like to say, Glenda?
Yeah, there was someone who said that they were frogging their work, and I I got a new yarn from a yarn company. So they sent me the yarn to try it out. And then they said, well, maybe you can make a project with it. So I thought, okay. So I started making a project, and I thought, well, I'm not sure how far this yarn will go. So in my brain, I knew I had enough. So I started making this project, and I used 6 skeins of yarn because I was changing colors every row before I realized that there is not going to be enough yarn
Oh
to
no.
make the project I wanted to make. So here I am. I thought, okay, I'll make a smaller project. So I started ripping every row out and crocheting the new project with the yarn. So I'm making this, and I get it to where I think it's done. And I put it on the project, and I thought, you gotta be kidding me. It was like 3 inches too short. So now, they only send you so much yarn. So, and it happens to everybody. Even though I have all this experience, I'm messing up. It's like, what is wrong with me? So now I'm ripping out the smaller project, and I'm
To make it
using
even smaller.
now I'm making it bigger, but I'm tying all these little pieces of yarn together to make my new project. And I'm thinking, I am going to have so many ends to weave in. And I said to my husband, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. I said, I thought I knew what I was doing. And it's just sometimes you can make a simple project, do a video, and they have no idea what you went through to make that simple project that looks so easy. Oh, goodness.
And how long it's taking you to get to that project?
I'm on my 3rd day, and I think I'm on row 4. It's only a 20-inch project. I'm making a pillow now because I wanted to make a throw because it was a new yarn. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I'm not going to tell you the yarn or the name because I thought, oh my goodness, now this yarn is like $7 a skein, and I'm only getting like this big of a project. So I'm going to make the project, but it's like, I like to stick to yarn where I'm getting a lot of yarn for my money. And some of these yarns, when they make them, the thicker yarns, you get so little yarn for the money. It's how do you make a project out of it? Nobody wants to spend $50 on a pillow top. No. So, but I'll get it made one way.
I'm sure you will. And the last question of the evening is from Sarah Moo, Crafty Moo Sarah. Is there a pattern that you are most proud of and is a favorite you may use more than once? Hope it hasn't been asked already.
I do have a pattern. It's called Creative. It's not Creative Grandma. It's Grandma's Garden. And it's, is it here? No. The one blanket I wish I would have had here. It's not in my room, but it's a floral design. It's kind of like mini mandalas. It's called Grandma's Garden. I love it. I use Lion brand yarn, and I use a whole bunch of different colors. And I think that was probably one of my most favorite patterns that I made. I just thought it come out really, really pretty.
And Reggie said, instead of weaving in ends on blankets, just line them.
Just do what?
Line them with the fabric.
I do that. So it depends on the stitch, though. When I do that, I don't like seeing those ends stick out. Sometimes you clip your ends, and sometimes, the blanket, you can see those ends.
If there's, like windows and they can poke through.
Yeah, I'm really I don't want to say asinine about that, but I like weave them in this way, then I weave it in this way, and then I weave it back over this way.
Me too.
And I cut a longer length. Now, certain things I make, I do that. If I'm just making a pattern to make the pattern, and I'm not going to use the project, I do that. I'll just crochet over the end and put it in the pattern if it's a tight stitch. But boy, some of those patterns, when you really struggle to get those ends weaved in to secure them when it's a looser lacer pattern, yeah, I try to make sure I'm really, you know, getting those ends weaved in, but.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody in the chat for all the thumbs up, for all your questions. I hope you've enjoyed today's interview. And thank you so much, Glenda, for being here. If you stay here and when we finish, we can have a little chat before we finish off. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here. And our Ursula has dropped the link. And if everybody wants to go across and do a Linda Stampede over at VJ's channel, she's going live shortly, then please do. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. But more importantly, guys, as I always say, be kind to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.